Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Project Infinite podcast, the podcast covering the entire and ever-expanding multiverse of fandom, from movies to comics, TV shows, video games. We got you covered. I'm Rob. I'm here as always with Courtney. And Courtney, this is an episode all about the multiverse.
Yeah, we're in our full Doctor Strange swing.
Week two.
Week two
of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness month. Alliteration.
Yeah, we're getting there.
So yeah, this episode we are going to be reacting and discussing the finally released Thor Love and Thunder trailer, and it was awesome.
Awesome is an understatement.
It got like 200 million views in like a few hours.
Right, yeah.
Which is crazy.
That trailer was just so short and sweet and impactful. In
case anyone was wondering whether or not Marvel is still a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. And talking about a big deal, we're going to talk about two of the biggest deals to come out of the Disney Plus realm.
Yeah. And WandaVision and Loki. Because WandaVision in particular ties directly into Doctor Strange because she's in it.
And it also ties into the No Way Home because of the hype. The hype machine the show was.
Yeah. And Loki is also in Doctor Strange?
Possibly. Probably.
Yeah.
Kang in Doctor Strange? Probably.
Yeah. But first, the news.
And boy.
And man, I didn't want to do this again, but for the second week in a row, somehow Ezra Miller got arrested in Hawaii again.
Yep.
And what is happening to them?
I don't know.
Like,
I hope they get some help.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit last week about how we just hope Ezra Miller is like okay, because clearly there's something going on there that is either being missed or being overlooked, because this type of stuff doesn't just happen.
Right.
You know, kind of, Ezra Miller has been up and down over the past few years with, what was it, a nightclub incident or a bar incident?
I believe
where
so.
They attacked a woman, strangled a woman.
I thought that was at an ice skating rink or something like that.
I don't remember, but nonetheless, Ezra Miller has been arrested again, and we just hope that they're doing okay and can get through whatever they're going through, because this is clearly headed down that path that you not often see, Hollywood stars go through, but it's definitely showing signs of something more troubling than just a few isolated incidents, especially since they're happening in such close proximity.
Right.
And the biggest question, I guess, is, we asked the question last week, but what do you do with the Flash now? Do
you just recast? Get Grant Gustin in there? Do you cut the movie entirely, which I don't think they're going to do.
No, they put too much
money
and
time, money, and the personnel you have on this movie is too grand just to cancel this. And this was supposed to be the movie that kind of overhauls the DC, which we'll get into in a little bit. But
yeah, it's just, it's difficult because, like you said, they put so much time and effort into this movie, into this character in particular. Got a nice rehabilitation in the Snyder Cut. Had one of the most, fantastic scenes in that movie, like bar none, was the Barry Allen entering the Speed Force, reversing time. Like, I felt like the Ezra Miller Flash was kind of gaining a little bit of momentum.
Right.
And now this, where they're just kind of falling apart.
Right.
And it's, it sucks because, Ezra Miller is a good actor, I think underneath all the, the antics and what's happening now, there's a good actor in there. And like I said, first and foremost, just hopefully they're doing okay. And so I guess we can pivot a bit to what you do with the Flash at this point. Do you call Grant Gustin up and be like, look, man, I know you've done this character for 8 years and you're probably ready to move on, but we're giving you movie star money to save this film?
Right, because he's getting a decent amount of money for the CW Flash, and that show's looking like it's coming to an end next season, I believe. They're going to just do the Arrow season 8, cut it short, 10 episodes, the greatest send-off you can have for, a beloved show and a beloved character. And you can just kind of keep this easy. You just make sure Grant Gustin says, hey, we're going to give you your second legs, and we're going to, like you said, going to give you that movie money. Maybe give Henry Cavill a call back and say, we're getting the band back together. We'll see, so the big thing that's coming out of this is Discovery had a big purchase of Warner Brothers, basically, and a merger almost, more or less. So now what the bigger question is I believe Discovery came in and said, hey, can we have a little bit of continuity amongst our movies so people aren't as confused as they are?
Or just like a different direction from what has been being done because there's a disconnect.
Right. And I mean, the elephant in the room is the MCU. It just is. It's never not going to be the elephant in the room when you look at the continuity of the DC universe. And I mean, off of the success of the Batman, and you have a definitive Batman that wants to play Batman, and that they said in the past, is it's in its own universe, but you never know. And then Discovery coming in here and say, we want to make sure everything's merged on one singular time. And not necessarily even one singular timeline, just that the story's the same and that there's just one bigger story kind of going and taking place. I mean, if that's the case, then Robert Pattinson could very easily turn into the main continuity Batman. And I mean, Grant Gustin can be the main continuity Flash. You give Henry Cavill another shot at this, so that way you're going to have your Batman, your Wonder Woman, your Superman, you'll have your Flash. I'm pretty sure they're still going forward with this Green Lantern show that's supposed to tie in, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
So you have your Green Lantern, so there's definitely possibilities everywhere to kind of keep this. You have Shazam, like there's heroes, Aquaman, there's heroes out there that you can kind of have. And I remember I always say this about the Justice League, it's always funny of how the direction that took is, because those are the core superheroes outside of Spider-Man. It's the Trinity on top of them. Like, they are the ones that kind of drove the superhero business I'm talking since the late 30s, drove the superhero business. You had everybody that you wanted. You had Superman, you had Batman, you had Wonder Woman, and you had a perfect opportunity to keep one singular timeline. And obviously events happened and things unfold and things don't go according to plan. But I think that's an issue that happened. There was not a definitive plan in place. They were kind of just running and gunning.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate because this Flash movie feels like it's been cursed.
Yeah.
It's been going for so long, and at some point, it does have to be released. Or maybe, I mean, I don't know.
I don't think
just
they cut it.
That money?
I don't think you cut that movie. I mean, the worst case scenario I think happens is that they turn it into something on HBO Max. That's the absolute worst case.
Well, we don't even know how much of it is done.
Right, because they said that I've heard reports that Ezra Miller was, and obviously these are reports that Ezra Miller was just not great to work with on the set of this movie specifically. Not saying the other movies, yeah.
When you go back to Fandom and Ezra Miller did that presentation and they said, we're not even done filming, but we had to bring something to DC Fandom. Mm-hmm. It's like the kid who doesn't do his homework and all of a sudden is turning it in, like partially done. Mm-hmm. That's what that felt like. And that's what it's been like for the past 5+ years with this project. And it just, when your main star is portraying, exhibiting erratic behavior before movies, presumably even done filming, it's just not good. It's not good. And at some point, you do have to consider, either cutting your losses and releasing it on HBO Max, like you said, or going in a different direction. Right. At this point, what's more reshoots if you do have to get a new actor in there?
Right. And like we said, the easiest thing in our humble opinion would to just say, hey, the main continuity Barry Allen dies and this Barry Allen from the CW or the Arrowverse steps in and turns into that Barry Allen. Or maybe don't even go that far. Just say, this is the new Flash. This is what he looks like now. Simple.
Yeah. And I think Grant Gustin has the acting chops to make that leap from small screen to big screen.
Yeah, he's a really good dramatic actor too. I think, and he can play that soft side and that wholehearted nature of Barry Allen too, which I think they were getting at with Ezra Miller's portrayal of him.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Like
tricky.
I said, it's so tricky. But speaking of DC, there is some more casting news. So we said a couple weeks back that Sharon Stone was going to be the villain in the Blue Beetle movie for HBO Max. That's getting a theater release now, isn't it? Did they upgrade that? I think they might have.
Not that I've heard of, but it could
I saw that
very much be possible.
But
they could be like full out on this movie, especially like, and we talked about it way back when about like the success of Cobra Kai and Zolo Maridueña turning into like everybody's favorite off of that show. They easily could turn this into a theater release. I still think they're going to release it on HBO Max and have it help it, like HBO Max still stay propped up, and like, which we'll get into when we talk about Netflix in a little bit too.
Yep.
So either way they decide to do this, it's going to work.
Long story short, Sharon Stone is no longer the villain of the Blue Beetle film. It is now Susan Sarandon, who's playing the same character, Ted Kord's wife, and she's going to be the villain of Blue Beetle. And then we have a cast for the Wonder Twins. So KJ Apa Riverdale fame, and Isabel May have been cast in the Wonder Twins, which is being described as kind of like a wacky kind of comedy type of deal, which... Sure.
Yeah, I'm for it.
Yeah, I mean, this is what DC needs to do. They do need to take that from Marvel mold of just being like, hey, we're going to take these characters that are a little lesser known and elevate them. That's what you need to, as we said earlier, if they do want to kind of sustain this universe, you have to elevate those kind of lower, lesser known characters to a higher status and make people care about them.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we have a Moon Knight show right now.
Right.
How many people knew who Moon Knight was before the show came out?
Exactly. So, it's good to see that there are some things in DC that are running somewhat smoothly. The Batgirl show is apparently finishing up, or movie. It's so hard to figure out what's a movie and what's a TV show.
What's on HBO Max, what's in the theater.
But there's a lot of excitement behind that project and how that has turned out.
Right.
So hopefully that'll hit. They are still doing good things on the CW front with Superman and Lois. So they got some good things going on. They just need to put the specter of the Flash behind them and sort out your Batman situation.
Right.
And I think
maybe get some continuity. And I know we've been kind of preaching that, hey, just make good movies, but there's something that is, refreshing, and it's not necessarily refreshing, but there's something that's very pleasing about having things. They don't need to necessarily connect directly to things, but just keeping things in one timeline. And I mean, Multiverse of Madness, which we're going to talk about, that's a perfect example of you played your cards right for 10 plus years.
Exactly.
So that way, because people already know, this is just a different version of this person that I already like, but it's still in the same, timeline of movies that in shows that we've been seeing for the last X amount of years of our lives. These are the same characters, just different versions. That's what you get earned by having the success that you have.
Exactly. Which is not something that DC has earned quite yet. They're doing things in small steps.
Yeah.
They earn their good graces with the films that they've put out in the past 2 years. Peacemaker obviously was a massive success. So hopefully this Blue Beetle project and the Wonder Twins project, Batgirl, everything that they have coming up can kind of get the ship back on track and, moving forward to hopefully what will be a more kind of coherent universe.
Right.
Even if it's not connected, like you said, you don't need to see all these characters interacting on screen to understand that it's the same universe. Just, a little continuity would be nice.
Yeah.
And a little clarity on what's going on. Like I said, specifically with Batman, because that appears to be where the problem is.
Right. And I mean, it would still be kind of nice to have a Superman.
Yeah. That would be nice too. But I mean, I think that was one of the things in the report about them wanting to kind of upheave what they're working on is they're like, look, we got to do something with Superman.
Yeah, because it's just too big of an IP just to have sitting on a shelf.
Yeah, for films anyway.
For movies, right.
Speaking of streaming services, Netflix is in trouble, man. So, in the wake of rising prices and subscription tiers and in the face of other subscription services, Netflix has lost 200,000 subscribers and is reportedly saying they're expecting to lose 2 million in the next quarter, which would be the first loss that they've incurred in subscribers in a decade.
Right. And look, it's 2 million it's a massive number, but relatively to the amount of people that are subscribed to Netflix, it's not, it's not detrimental.
No, it's not going to put the company out of business.
Right. They're not going to blockbuster themselves, wink, but it is something to keep your eye open at because, hey, the one thing that Disney Plus has going for it is the Marvel side and the Star Wars side. They are keeping their storylines alive through that. Netflix had the rare opportunity. They were dropping original content. That's what they had over everybody else is all their content for the most part was original and taken from something else. But after the merger where Marvel got back, Daredevil, that's a huge TV show that's gone. Stranger Things took a hiatus, gone, and now it's coming back, but it took a while for it to come back. You're losing Black Mirror gone, Outer Banks on break right now. There's nothing right now that's there's nothing that's drawing people in.
Other than a movie every now and
just
then.
a movie now and then, but there's no huge director tied to any of these movies or I mean, what's the last big movie with I guess the Adam Project was the last like big one with a big name actor in it, which obviously a lot of people, including myself, liked, but still, there's nothing that's really tying a lot of people to Netflix. There's no continuity. There's no HBO Max gets there as much as I personally don't necessarily love. They are getting their movies like a month or two after they release in theaters, which is better than what it was last year, where it was.
And then
they
have when you talk about Euphoria and you talk about Game of Thrones, like two of the biggest network TV shows, not network TV shows, but premiere TV shows of all time.
Yeah.
With Game of Thrones getting now a prequel show that's going to HBO and HBO Max. So, Netflix was once the king of this streaming world, but now all these other things are catching up.
Yeah, and I think the big thing that's kind of the glaring one, in my opinion, is the week-to-week thing. Mm-hmm. The week-to-week hype and looking out for something has really helped these streaming services, especially Disney+. And then the specific show would be for HBO Max's Euphoria just recently, and Game of Thrones right before that. But it's just waiting each week to see what happens. And Game of Thrones and Euphoria always take place on a great time because it's right before the week starts. Like, it's Sunday at 9. It's like prime time of like everybody, like it's the last thing they do before the weekend's over. Like everybody can kind of stop. They're probably home. They're ready to watch this. And then Disney Plus, like I said, you're keeping the continuities alive of two of the biggest IPs in the world. Like the biggest.
On top of not just that, but I mean the Disney animated projects.
Right. Exactly.
This is the other thing too.
So, and then you have all these catalogs of nostalgia just riddled. And honestly, both of these for HBO, because you have the Harry Potter series on there, and then I mean Disney Plus, you got everything from our childhoods in there too. So, and
that was a lot of stuff before the advent of these streaming services that Netflix had,
right?
And now Netflix is kind of bare bones in that department because you can go to these other streaming services, even other services like Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime is big,
is on the come up now. Apple TV just got a freaking movie nominated for an Oscar that released. Yeah. Hulu has live sports.
Hulu does have live sports. so yeah,
Netflix is in trouble, but when trouble beckons, you ring the Stranger Things bell.
Yeah, you do. That's an amazing segue into our Stranger Things trailer because, boy, I really like that trailer. That got me.
Just when you think you're out, they pull you back in.
They pull you right back in.
They needed that.
80s nostalgia on 100.
Netflix was on the ropes.
Yeah, they were on the ropes.
And they're like, Stranger Things.
Stranger Things, here you go. They're going to be on the ropes again. More Black Mirror, here you go.
Oh, imagine they do another season of Black Mirror.
Just blow the internet up. We're going to do a Black Mirror and Outer Banks crossover.
I mean, you could probably say that everything in the Netflix universe is connected to Black Mirror.
Yeah.
In some way.
Yeah.
That's probably the end game of Black Mirror.
That is.
But yeah, the Stranger Things trailer, what did you think of it?
I really liked it. I actually really, really liked that trailer.
It looks like with the time that they took off, like it feels like the production value went way up.
Skyrocketed. Feels like, I mean, season 3 still felt big. And I mean, season 3, for most people, it's like their least favorite season because of kind of the big issue of season 3 for most people was like, it's weird to even say the believability of things because of the whole mall being built on top of an ancient, or not an ancient, but like a secret Russian lab. And then Hopper just getting teleported across the universe. I'm like, you guys did watch season 1 where there was a whole nother universe just laid on top of ours, right?
But there was something about that first season and the second season that did feel in a weird way grounded. Like, it felt like you could connect the dots and be like, yeah, this feels like something that, even though it's supernatural and extraterrestrial, it could plausibly happen.
Right.
Like, it felt like, in the vein of what Stranger Things is, it felt like a throwback to like the old school thriller sci-fi elements. And I think a little of that was lost in the third season. I think the third season did kind of have that Hollywoodization of that universe, which it didn't need. Like, it was kind of
my favorite line, which is just like capitalism. I love that.
Like it kind of got away from everything that made those first 2 seasons really, really great. And it was like Stranger Things always felt like the underdog story. You know what I mean? And not just in terms of the story itself, but the show was kind of like this thing that took over the internet when the first season released. People were like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, it's like a new thing.
Yeah.
You had some real good young actors at the time. You had Winona Ryder. but now, you know, I think this fourth season, it feels like they're kind of getting back to that kind of horror, kind of dark sci-fi roots.
Right, and
trailer.
I believe this is the first season with a definitive villain this time, specifically from the Upside Down, so like getting into like the actual lore of the universe, so just from what we get from the trailer, you kind of see almost like this figure from the Upside Down finally, like whoever is the one in control of the Upside Down. He who remains of the Upside Down is finally coming for his reckoning. He's like, these kids have foiled my... He's basically a Scooby-Doo villain, like, these kids have foiled my plans.
I would have gotten away with it, too. For these meddling kids.
Exactly.
And Winona Ryder.
And Winona Ryder.
And Sean Astin that one time.
For you meddling kids and Rudy, I would have had the Earth. Would have had both the Upside Down and the not Upside Down.
The right side up.
The right side up. I would have had the right side up. But yeah, so it looks like you said. It looks like there's a definitive villain this time. Who that is remains to be seen.
It's Carnage.
It's nope. It's not Carnage.
Not you, Father.
You, Father. Oh my God.
The best joke.
The best joke. Oh, I don't know. Morbius gave us a run for our money.
He did.
Yeah. You need a doctor? I am a doctor.
Cinema.
This is it's just Martin Scorsese. To me, that's cinema.
Back to Stranger Things. No, but like I said, it's one of those things, like, they should have just plastered, like, at the end, or, like, in the middle of, like, the trailer, they should have been like, y'all must have forgot.
Yeah.
Like, Stranger Things is still a thing, because it has been gone for
a while
now.
They look old.
Yeah, but good.
Yeah.
They needed to age up a bit.
Yeah, they're all in high school now, like, they're in high school, like... I think because, so the way that this is being split, I believe, what is it, May 27th? Like, this is the same day, like, Obi-Wan's coming out.
Netflix shooting their shot.
Yeah, they are. I saw somebody said, like, so it's like, who are you going to pick between watching first? And they were like, if you don't think I'm going to be there with a lightsaber lit up just to see...
To be fair, though, you know, this is where we're going to see it. We're going to see it head to head.
Mm-hmm.
What wins out? The week-to-week thing or the binge all-at-once thing?
Right.
Because Stranger Things, even though it's split into two parts, it's going to give you the whole first thing, right up front, and Obi-Wan's giving you the first two.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going to win out? You know what I mean?
And I don't even think there's a definitive answer, to be honest, because isn't there some beauty in, like, I have the week-to-week, you know, hype train of Obi-Wan.
Yeah, there's room for both.
Right, there exactly. In the meantime, while I wait for Obi-Wan, I can watch Stranger Things. It's perfect.
Yeah, and then people dump all their Stranger Things theories and everything. But then, what is it, like a month or two?
Yeah, it's July, so it's May and July.
Yeah.
Part 1 and Part 2, which is interesting. That's an interesting split.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that a few weeks ago about, you know, they're testing the waters of not necessarily a week-to-week thing, but, like, you know, splitting things up, letting people marinate and think about what you're doing. And, you know, like you said at the time, it is ripe for a big, like, shock value moment that people are going to have to chew on for that break.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the death of one of the main characters. I think that's what's going to kind of set them off into... and we'll be seeing if it's going to be one of the kids. I have my theory on who it's going to be. Y'all don't want to hear it, but if I'm to make my theory right now, I think it's going to be Dustin's going to be the one to go to end that Part 1. And then we're going to ride into Part 2 because he's really kind of the emotional core of that team. And I think that would be a real way to rock them right out of the gate and give them some motivation to go into the second half and maybe give some proper push to give 11 her powers back as well. Yeah,
I think that's a great call. I think... Yeah, I could get on. I was thinking like Hopper.
I just think it's just too convenient to kill it because you already set him away from season 3 to season 4 and he's already had too many close calls. Like, I think one of the main kids being gone because also it's funny to even say raise the stakes, but they've all survived through this whole thing. Like Billy, Barb, and
John
Astin are the only one. They're like the ones to either die or give their lot. Like, but none of the main characters have gone yet. So I think one of the it could have been like Winona Ryder, or it could have been David Harbour. But I think specifically
and something about like the kids, like,
right.
You know what I mean?
Right. It just makes it much more immediate, much more adult if that happens. Like none of them are safe at this point. Like,
and it's not going to be Mike.
It's not going to be Mike.
As much as you might want it to be Mike.
Yeah, it's not going to be Will. They already did that, basically. It's not going to be Will. It's not going to be...
11.
It's not going to be... Obviously, it's not going to be... That's like killing, like, Superman and a Superman. Oh, wait.
Wait a minute.
Oh, wait.
Hold on.
Oh, wait. Yeah, I think Dustin's the one that might bite the bullet. And I've been wrong before.
Or the tentacle.
Or, yeah.
Or whatever is going on.
Whatever it is.
With those guys in the Upside Down. No, that's a good call. But I'm looking forward to it because it has been a long time and it is one of the most popular kind of properties going, especially for Netflix in the wake of everything that we just talked about. They need a big win for people to talk about, not just at the moment, but for the prolonged kind of period of time.
Right.
You want to talk Thor?
Yeah, I think it's time.
We finally got it. It finally happened. Marvel knew.
Yeah, they did know.
Here.
Yeah.
And
there's something I can't put my finger on to why I don't know if it was that opening shot of them just running. It's like, I love how they cut it into like 4 tiers of him, like basically like going in, and I'm going to go crazy about the comic in a second because y'all are not ready. Y'all are not ready for Gore the God Butcher. But it has this feeling like, and it's something like, again, to go back to like to earned, like this feels earned that he's at this point. He's the first hero to have his 4th property be made. Like this feels like almost unheard of. Like one of the main characters, because Captain America's gone, Iron Man's dead. That's the part where you're supposed to be like, what? Iron Man's dead? But yeah, like Thor, and it also makes sense, like, and that's like, this is like a comic thing almost, like, it makes sense that he's the one that's alive, like, because he's a god, like, he's not just gonna die by the same means that they'll die at, like, he's the one that's gonna survive for a little bit longer, and like, that could be one of his curses, like, that he has to live this long to see all these things happen as well, and just Taika Waititi building like this universe of Thor, and making Thor just this kind of like fun Jack Kirby-esque comic character. Like you just feel the love for this character, and you kind of feel the train riding. Everybody wants to hop on.
Yeah, totally agree. The trailer is magnificently cut.
Yeah.
Got some Guns N' Roses, of course.
Oh, I couldn't get that song out of my head. I still can't get that song out of my head.
It's going to be the new Immigrant song.
It's going to be, easily. Yeah. It's like the thing that keeps happening, like No Way Home came out and it was 3 is the magic number, and then Batman came out and then everybody was listening to Kurt Cobain, and then Moon Knight came out and they were listening to that song, and then this is going to be the new one.
Yeah, it's going to be Guns N' Roses. It's got that. It's so apropos that the Guardians of the Galaxy are in this movie, because it's a movie that appears to be so defined by its character and its color, and its feel, even the way Thor's dressed, at least casually. Right. Even when you do see him in the upgraded armor, it's shiny, it's blue, it's gold, it's loud. It's
very comic booky, like, and that's what the MCU is starting to get into. And we're gonna talk about that when we talk about WandaVision and Loki. But the MCU, now we're getting, and again, it feels so right that all these characters, like, they gave us the comic accurate Wanda, like the Scarlet Witch suit, and they gave us the comic accurate Captain America Falcon suit. Like, they're not pulling punches on the believability, or like, they don't care anymore. Like,
yeah, because they don't have to.
They don't have to. It works. You believe it. You believe that these heroes can wear this and still be credible.
You're fully immersed in a comic book universe at this point. And good. That's where we should be at.
Right.
But 20 some odd movies into this thing. Yeah, so we do get a little bit of the Guardians. I get a feeling a lot of this trailer is from the beginning of the movie. Right. Because I don't think the Guardians are going to be in it as much as the trailer portrays it. I think a lot of that happens right in the beginning.
Yeah, I think maybe the first 20 minutes, and I mean, that's a big maybe.
I think that's right. I think they're going to do a thing, and that's when you're going to get to that moment for the trailer where, like, the Guardians run into action, and Thor's like, well, see you later. Like, this ain't for me anymore. Until it is.
Right. Because Gore the God Butcher's coming.
Who was conspicuous by his absence in this trailer.
Very interesting, and I don't think as interesting as people are making out to be, because I think they're saving that. I think they want to save that reveal because, one, Gore the God Butcher might be one of the greatest villains that I've ever personally read, and he's just so dynamic, and it's like what Taika Waititi and James Gunn do really well, like all these crazy universes that are just happening all at once, but just a nice, like, heartfelt story, like, and a nice, like, dark, sad story almost, like, just at the core of it. Like, that's what Gore is, like. So, from the comic, like, it's really awesome. Like, so basically Gore is just, he's this being, he's kind of enslaved on this planet almost, and his family is, I believe his family's killed, and Gorr, because technically Thor is a god, he prays to any god to help him at the moment, and nobody answers. And he's like, okay, well, that was my last ditch effort of hope, and it's gone. Like, all these gods that we're supposed to pray to, nobody came to save me. So I'm going to kill every last one of them that I can. And when I tell you this man goes on a one-man rampage, it basically divulges into Thor just keeps showing up late and just, like, pantheons of gods. I think they go to, like, there's, like, these Swedish gods just dead. Like, they're just, like, strung up dead. Like, just he keeps getting there too late. And just, like, I think they even cut, like, one of the panels, like, definitive, like, one of the panels, like, they ripped from the page right to the screen. I believe it's, like, that bigger monster or that bigger guy that's kind of laying down in the ice. Like, that was pulled right from the Jason Aaron run that was drawn by Asad Ribic. So you can really tell there's a lot of inspiration, and Gorr is just... And then on top of that, Christian Bale's playing him too. Like, that's what I'm really excited about, because, like, it's one of those things where you don't think about it until it happens. You're like, oh yeah, that's gonna work. That's gonna work. Just for, like, the little mannerisms that Gorr has. Like, he's an absolute issue. Like, we're gonna need, like, the god. Like, I'm talking, like, Odin Force level Thor to try to beat this. And, you know, and coupling with the mighty Thor herself, Jane Foster, to also help out.
That was the big aha moment at the end of the trailer, was the reveal of, spoiler alert, Natalie Portman, in case nobody noticed who that was. Natalie Portman's mighty Thor, Jane Foster, who inherits the powers of Thor, and she's looking swole.
She's swole. Oh my gosh. I was surprised. I was like, what the? She's looking built.
Not our Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. She has a reforged Mjolnir.
So I think that's the main timeline hammer. And I gonna keep my theory running that whatever happens in Doctor Strange is gonna have, like, dramatic implications on the universe, because still, they showed nothing in this trailer. Like, relatively, there was, like, small reveal. Like, we already knew she was going to be in the movie. Like, I think they're holding off on the Gorr look for a little bit. They just wanted to show you Thor's going to get back in shape, and he's going to be
Chris Hemsworth is good looking again.
Right, yeah.
Fear not. Chris Hemsworth is handsome again.
Yeah, he's almost a pacifist this time. And it sets up, like, hey, the Guardians are here. We're going to have a little bit of fun with this. It's like, it's Love and Thunder. Like, great name for a movie. And Zeus
was awesome.
Yeah. Zeus is in this.
Yep. Russell Crowe.
Yep, Russell Crowe.
Yep.
I got a theory. Ready for this? Because obviously Hercules is a pretty decent Marvel character that they introduced in the 70s, I believe. What if Henry Cavill plays Hercules to Russell Crowe's Zeus? It'd be perfect.
That would be fun.
Absolutely perfect.
That would be a lot of fun. So yeah, like you said, this trailer truly didn't give up much.
Mm-mm.
You know, Korg is in this.
Mm-hmm.
You saw the return of Korg.
Yep.
Like we said, the Guardians are in this. But other than that, it's just a lot of kind of setting Thor up to what he's going to be in the beginning of this movie, until eventually something pulls him in. That something being Gorr doing whatever. I
think this is gonna play on more, because I think it started to get into during Infinity Wars, when it started to play into more that the fact that Thor was more of, like, a god versus just like another being in the universe. Like, he actually is like a god. Like, there's a reason, like, why, you know, people, like, they said in, like, the first Thor movie, like, people studied him. Like, he's not, like, just a being. Like, he's got more power than that. So I think that's something that's going to be super important. And then this movie is going to be the one that plays on it. So if you haven't, go read the first arc of the Jason Aaron Thor run. It's one of the greatest comic arcs of the last X amount of years. I personally think it's the definitive Thor run. It's the best example of him just being, like, the Avenger. And it was very juxtaposed, like, the way they cut the beginning of the trailer with, like, Kid Thor, Teenage Thor, you know, main Thor, and then Thor now, kind of running. It's like, what was really good about it is, like, a big part of the comic is, like, you have, like, this Kid Thor, so he's, like, a teenager, he's partying, and then he meets Gorr for the first time, and then he's not prepared, and then there's Avenger Thor, like, Prime Thor, same thing, and then it's Old Man Thor, like, everybody on Asgard's dead, he's the only one that's still, I think it's him and Loki, because Loki always survives, which we're going to talk about, because he just can't die. But yeah, it's kind of like, it's split into three, and, like, basically by the end, they need to kind of team up together to kind of take out Gorr, or just try to take him on, because they need to use all their experiences almost. But yeah, It's the perfect arc. I've been waiting for them to use God of Thunder as their comic source to pull. And this might be, I think we talked about this before, how we were waiting to see what's going to be the most faithful adaptation. This one might get close to like a faithful adaptation to something. So
yeah.
Can't wait to see Natalie Portman as Mighty Thor.
I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Like, it's so funny, this arc that not just the character, but the project has been through.
Right.
To the point where Natalie Portman was done.
Oh, she was done.
Chris Hemsworth was pretty much done until Thor Ragnarok. And, I feel like it's just a matter of, like, Natalie Portman seeing Thor Ragnarok and Taika Waititi calling her up and being like, how would you like to get on in this action?
Right.
And her being just in, like, immediately.
Right.
So I think she's going to give a pretty stellar performance as whatever iteration of Jane Foster we are going to get. Totally different portrayal of the character that she's given to this point. And also, then there's... who's the third man? There's that one shot of Thor and Korg, and there's, like, a space, like, next to them.
It's got to be Beta Ray Bill, right?
Yeah.
Who plays Beta Ray Bill is the bigger question, because that's been the rumor for this movie, that Beta Ray Bill is also going to be in this. They're going full Thor for this.
There's got to be a third man in that frame.
Yeah.
It's the Spider-Man No Way Home lizard being punched by wind frame.
Right.
Where there's just... there's too much empty space for there to not be a third person in that frame.
Right.
So, Beta Ray Bill's a good one. Loki is another one that could definitely be there.
Right.
But those would probably be the two that I would imagine would probably be standing next to them.
Right.
Maybe another version of Thor.
That's the Doctor Strange thing that I'm thinking about. Like, we're gonna get maybe we get what is it, Eric Masters or Masterson or something like that, the Thunderstrike. Yeah, like, because he does wear the Thunderstrike boots in this trailer too. Like, we're getting so much classic Thor stuff in this, and like just the bigger overall MCU. We're getting so much classic like things from this. It's amazing how I thought about this. It's so crazy.
I know.
I just did I'm restarting an MCU rewatch, and I'm doing like the full MCU. Like, I have like the full Excel sheet with like the shows intercut in there, like every single piece of Marvel property in there. It's just so crazy that we came from like a guy that just built a suit and like in a cave, to like
with a box of scraps,
to like the multiverse literally cracking open. Like, it's nuts that they've been able to keep this.
The way
and like
that they've been able to do this, like I say this all the time, it's one of the greatest, if not the greatest, cinematic achievement of all time.
The list of actors that they've gotten amongst, like, I'm talking the A-list actors. Just
Star Wars can't even tell a coherent story over 3 movies.
No, they've had major trouble with it.
And now Marvel is just out here. I'm telling you, people are gonna go back and look at this in film schools and be like, how did they do this?
Yeah,
how did they go from nearly bankrupt?
Close, real close. They made some interesting decisions on who to sell and who to keep, and it all worked out in the end because they got it back anyway.
Yeah,
so
in spades.
And the great words of Jake Johnson's Spider-Man from Into the Spider-Verse, it's a leap of faith.
It really was. It's amazing. It's amazing that that's where we're at this point. And Thor, I kind of like that we got the trailer so late because we have 3 months.
We do have 3 months, and then and also, how much Marvel content we're getting. Like, we're getting Moon Knight week to week, and then we're gonna get Doctor Strange, and then we're gonna get Miss Marvel, and then we're gonna get Thor. Yep. It's like, and then we're gonna get She-Hulk. Like, it's just, and then we're gonna get Echo. I think it's just nonstop Marvel, and I think this is what they wanted. They wanted like week by week, there's a Marvel something coming out every week. Like, it just doesn't matter when it will be. So I think that's their plan going forward. And man, it's a good time to be a fan of Marvel.
Yep. Speaking of that, we're gonna transition now into kind of our segue into Doctor Strange, which is talking about 2 Disney Plus shows that we didn't get the opportunity to talk about, at least on this podcast, because we didn't have a podcast yet.
Yeah.
So
maybe in another universe we had a podcast, but not yet.
Yeah. So WandaVision. So let's time travel back to January of 2021. Actually, let's go back to like a little before that, because Disney Plus was in its infancy, and we knew these Marvel shows were coming. Originally, Falcon and the Winter Soldier was going to be the first one. Circumstances changed, obviously, surrounding the pandemic and a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
Things got shuffled around, and they're like, well, WandaVision's ready to go. Let's go. Full send. WandaVision. That first kind of teaser came out, which is basically a scene from the pilot episode.
Right. And it was that 1950s aesthetic, and people were like, what is this?
I was so in.
Yeah. No, it works.
Seeing those two actors do the kind of like the I Love Lucy bit was incredible.
Right.
And so that's what we got. We got 9 episodes, character-driven story between Wanda Maximoff and the Vision, and this show took on a total life of its own.
Yeah.
So so the first, 4 episodes are like the sitcom episodes, right?
Right.
Is that right?
It's the first 3 are the sitcom episodes. Episode 4 is the first time you see Monica. It's the first break. It's the first one where everybody's like, "Oh yeah, this is in the MCU." Just in case you guys forgot, and it was the introduction to Monica Rambeau. And then episode 5 went back to the 80s, I believe. Yeah. And that's when it started to get a little bit, hey, something's not right. Like, something's really not right.
Yeah. I mean, there are those moments in the first few episodes where stuff is off. People are trying to, some voice is trying to communicate with Wanda through a radio at one point. There's that real surreal moment in the first episode with Vision's boss.
Right.
But yeah, so all these things are compounding onto each other until episode 3 is really when stuff kicks off.
Yeah.
Because that's when Wanda's like, hey, to Monica Rambeau, she's like, you're not,
Yeah, you're not really supposed to be here.
Freaking shoots her out of the barrier wall thing into the real world, and that's when we're like, okay.
Yeah, this is an MCU show.
Yeah, so this is kind of... And then, even then, man, the theories...
went rampant. What was your crazy theory? What was your one where you just said, this has got to happen?
I mean, I don't know if it's a crazy theory, but the one thing I thought for sure was going to happen was that Doctor Strange was going to pull up in this.
And be like, do you mind?
Yeah,
can you stop? Can you not?
Yeah, I thought for sure we were going to get Doctor Strange in that last episode or penultimate episode. Even like a post-credit scene or something.
Right.
I was dead set that Doctor Strange was going to appear.
Sam Raimi said, absolutely not. Save
and
this
then
for
they were
me.
like, nope. We're keeping this focus on Wanda, and we're keeping this focus on Vision, and they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
And I remember when the show was coming out, and people were like, the show, and it was the whole No Way Home thing, and it was a piece of the Loki thing as well, that I always am going to stand by, that the reason people didn't love this show as a whole, some people, is because their theories didn't come. It's the Star Wars thing. Star Wars suffers from this a lot. When the thing you don't want to happen doesn't happen, it's automatically bad. Mephisto, yeah. So my theory was the Reed Richards one. I was adamant on this one. I just thought it was just going to be a younger-ish Reed Richards just showing up and be like, hey, I can help.
But then you pull back and you realize, like, absolutely not.
Yeah, and it's the big thing is like, oh, is this show just about Vision and Scarlet Witch? And you're like, yeah, that's because, and Marvel's like, yeah, because that's the name of the show.
Yeah, this is a story about love, and this is a story about loss.
Yeah, and they were just like, but where's Mephisto though? They're like, nah, this isn't what these did. And you know what's funny? They definitely did say these Disney Plus shows aren't gonna do that. You know, apropos, like, there's gonna be big implications from them because they said these are like mini-series, basically movies that are being, built in and weaved into the story, but like they're not the movies that are released in theaters. They're not going to do the big
How
things.
I always perceived these, and it was basically, WandaVision showed me this, and then Loki subsequently showed me this. Falcon and the Winter Soldier really showed me this, is what these are going to be like side stories. These are like novellas that, aren't necessary viewing for the movies, but they inform your opinion. Like, do I think when Wanda shows up in Multiverse of Madness, we're going to get like a little tiny recap of what she's been through? Yeah, probably. Because, at the end of the day, these Disney Plus shows are made to expand upon established characters or introduce new ones that might or might not appear in films in the future. So that's what this did. This gave us a transitional piece between Avengers Endgame Wanda and where we're going to see her in Multiverse of Madness. Right. It's, it's going to be summed up. I mean, you even see that in the trailer for Doctor Strange where he goes, hello, Wanda, and she's like, I know I've done things. He's like, I'm not here to talk about WandaVision. Yeah. We're in a movie now.
Yeah, we're for the big guys now. We got on the big
I'm Benedict Cumberbatch.
I'm Benedict Cumberbatch.
I'm not coming down to your little Disney Plus show.
Yeah. I was in Doctor Who. You better show some respect.
Welcome back to the big leagues, Wanda.
Yeah. He's like, I'm gonna get your name back on the cereal box. Don't worry. You don't have to deal with the TV anymore. We're back on the silver screen.
Let's dive into this a little bit. Starting with Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany. Just magnificent.
Electric energy and what I love is they fully embodied this can go either way. This can either be like a pretty big success, or this can kind of not be too big and keen for some people. And some people didn't love the first 2 episodes. They were like, this is black and white.
I sure love them.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed that kind of. It's because, again, it's the big overarching thing of people like, we need the definitive big things to happen right now, and it's just like, this is not what this show is. The show is, like you said, it's about love and loss. It's very simple, the theme of this show. Yeah. And it does a great job at it.
They're the tragic love story of the MCU. Mm-hmm. That's who WandaVision are.
Right.
And this show explores that, to front and back and, beginning to end.
Right.
It explores that story of loss. I mean, who could get through, episode 6 or 7 when they have the flashback to Sokovia and everything?
That's actually the episode. I think that's my favorite episode of this whole season, to be honest. When you finally see kind of the origin, because again, we were only seeing origins of like these bigger characters, and this is the beauty of these Disney Plus shows. Like all these side characters that you want a little bit more lore of, like this is where you're gonna get it. Like this is the true purpose of these Disney Plus shows, to flesh out these other characters and make sure they're ready once you get more Avengers movies.
Yep, and that's what this did. I mean, I don't think any character it's tough. Honestly, these Disney Plus shows all did a really good job, but the arc that Wanda goes on from Endgame to where she ends up by the end of this is it. I think I forget when I said it, but she's the kind of the cornerstone of this new phase of MCU movies. She's kind of the center stage, really. Mm-hmm. And Elizabeth Olsen is more than up to the task, I think. Yeah. From the beginning of when the show kicks off to all the different genres and eras, like that's just tremendous range.
No, it is. Just her being a 1950s housewife to her being like, the new age, like
Modern Family.
Yeah, the new age Modern Family to like it's just her
to her being just Wanda Maximoff.
Yeah, and
Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, just her like having to deal with like her like seeing her parents die in front of her, like seeing her brother die, and like she's seen so much loss, and it's like this show captures all of it and like kind of how that can really affect a person. It's just like that's what a big piece of like what her arc in Doctor Strange is going to be too. It's like it's not as simple as like, I know I was joking before, like, Wanda's just the villain. Like, it's not that simple. Like, she's seen all the worst of what she can see on top of having, like, this, like, burden of a power on top of it. Like, and even before, because before it was just, she just had telekinesis and telepathy before, but now it's even more because she actually is a witch. Like, that's why I really liked episode 8, like, the second to last episode where you kind of divulged into her past a little bit. Like, Agatha tells her, like, you think that missile just didn't go off because it didn't go off? Like, no, you made it so that didn't go off. Like, you're so much more than just being like...
It does a nice job of rewriting Wanda's kind of origin story.
Right, because it was very simple as, like, she's, like, a not mutant because we can't use that word. She's a miracle, but it's, like, it's not that simple. Like, Pietro's that, but you're more, like, you got, like... You are that, like, you were a witch before this, and now you got the power of the Mind Stone on top of this, too. So, like, you were already a witch, but now you're a quote-unquote mutant, because I guess we can use that word now. Like, you're both.
Now you're the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
Agatha bestows upon her.
More powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme.
That's why Doctor Strange didn't show up in that show. He was like,
yeah.
Hold on.
Come on, now. I beat Thanos.
Yeah. And then there's the Vision piece of this, which... That was the source of a lot of intrigue for the show, was like, what is going on with Vision? Like, what's his deal? Mm-hmm. Is he a figment of Wanda's imagination? Is he legitimately there with her? Is she carrying around his corpse in Westview? That was the strong theory. I had that theory for a while. I'm like, is she just projecting a live Vision onto a dead body?
Vision, which also got backed up from episode 3, where you did that little cut where I guess essentially she kind of breaks her like hex for a little bit and just sees like Vision with the Mind Stone ripped out of his head and lifeless. Little jump scare moment right there.
Yeah, it was really creepy.
Yeah, I was like, Jesus.
Yeah, and then he's trying to solve what's going on. He becomes like the undercover sleuth of trying to solve he steps outside the hex and almost dies, almost disintegrates, and then you get the birth of the White Vision.
I request elaboration.
So good.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that moment for a bit, because that was also the source of a lot of fan theorizing, was because Paul Bettany in his brilliance was, doing the promotions, doing the talking for WandaVision. He was like, look, there's an episode coming up, or I think he literally says the finale, where he goes, in the finale, it's great. I get to work with an actor that I've always wanted to work with. We had such electric chemistry between the two of us, and people are like, oh my God, who's it going to be?
And why is it Al Pacino?
And it's just Paul Bettany.
Yeah.
It's just himself.
Just so smart. It's so smart. This show had us all on the edge of every week. You didn't know what was going to happen. And none of the theories came. Not one of those theories came
People
true.
were dissecting the little commercials, the little ads. And then people were like, surely it's not just going to be a reveal that Agnes is Agatha Harkness, right? Sure enough.
Yeah.
We got a whole musical number about it.
Yeah.
Grammy nominated. A Grammy nominated musical number about how, no, Agatha is just, it was Agatha all along.
Right.
She was the villain. Agatha Harkness from comics is the kind of frenemy of Scarlet Witch in the comics.
Right.
She's an enemy, a mentor in many ways.
Which I think that's what they're going to try to lean into more of for Wanda's next arc in the MCU. Because what I think they're going to try to do is, as they introduce the mutants into the MCU, they're going to try to make, because the new X-Men comics, what they really do, it's funny because, they're so intuitive, and, the way they do it, they start to classify the mutants, and they're like, Scarlet Witch is the pretender. She's the one that's not truly who they... they're just salty because she took away their powers, but... it's the same thing. I think they're gonna want somebody to kind of teach her what's going on and throughout the time. So
yeah, and you get a little bit of that. Agatha kind of clues her in, but to her own demise.
Right,
clues her in.
You're not just You're not just a product of the Mind Stone and just a normal
You're not like these other people.
No, yeah. He said, don't talk like that. You're not them. Shout out Heath Ledger. You're not them.
Yeah, Catherine Hahn
murdered it,
dude.
Killed this.
From Jump Street, when she was just Agnes the nosy neighbor, nailed it. Nailed it. Then when she goes full send on her villain turn, nailed it. The cackling, the crazy costume. She was tremendous, and it makes all the sense in the world that she's getting her own Disney Plus show now, because look at that performance.
Yeah. Was it Emmy nominated? If I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Yeah. But Catherine Hahn aside, what did you think of Agatha Harkness as the main villain of this?
I mean, if I want to look at the theory side of it, then it's not disappointing, but to many it was disappointing. But I mean, for the show that we got, it made 1,000,000%. It made so much sense, because what it does, it's again, it's the mentor figure, because this show is just a piece of something to get to a new thing. We needed Wanda to have somebody to teach us. It's informing her as she's also informing the audience. That's exactly what episode 8 was. We need to learn about the magical side of the MCU that's not Doctor Strange. There's more to this than just the Ancient One and Doctor Strange. There's other aspects to this.
And positioning Wanda as a morally kind of great character.
Yeah, she's gonna kind of turned into maybe the most dynamic character in the MCU, because
it's just so exciting.
I'm trying to think of, if you want to get down to it, Hulk pre-Age of Ultron was kind of dynamic, because it's you have this beast inside of this man, so he's not really controlling what he's doing, but again, he immediately was able to control it, so it didn't really do anything.
And Hulk doesn't inherently have any motivations.
Right, and I think something that hurts that a little bit is because of the whole, they don't have the rights fully, so we couldn't get a Hulk, because 1,000,000% we would have got a Mark Ruffalo Hulk. They probably would have just done World War Hulk and just done the whole, the Hulk going crazy. They probably would have done that, but you don't really need to do that, and they kind of just adapted a small piece of that for Thor Ragnarok anyway.
Yeah, so, and, Wanda does some things in this show that people are like, wait a second here, is she the villain? Kind of.
Yeah, there was a point where people were like, is she just going to be the bad guy? And I'm like, again, it's not that simple. It's not that simple. It really isn't.
Honestly, the person or being that is kind of the grandfather, not the grandfather, but the cornerstone for, these villains are a little more complicated than maybe we're ready for. Killmonger comes to mind. Thanos. in a lot of ways was that, these villains are getting more complex, and we're going to see Wanda and Doctor Strange 2 flirt that line between hero and villain.
Yeah. I mean, Kang is another one. That's going to be a really interesting one, because I do think I think it's going to be two-sided. They're going to have a little bit more of like a street-level big bad.
Yeah.
And then they're going to have like the full-out cosmic big bad. And I think there might work. I was just thinking about this as I was watching the Loki season finale. I think I still think Secret Wars is the end. This is like what they're working towards. They're going to work towards a Secret Wars where it's like RDJ comes back, like the original Fantastic Four come back, the original X-Men.
We talked about this. I don't remember when it was, but we talked about kind of like what's the plan here? What's the grand plan? What we have to realize right now is we're in that Iron Man, Captain America, the First Soldier, Thor, original Thor phase of whatever this new plan is. That's where we are in this. So we're not going to get the big Thanos level thing.
No.
For years. No. Years from now is when we're going to get that.
Right. So and I think it's I even told you, and I'm going to talk about this when we talk about Loki, like, there's a stroke of genius with getting Jonathan Majors and just having him be, I mean, he's somebody, but he's just some guy at this point.
He's like the reverse Nick Fury?
Yeah, he's just the guy, he's just a dude. He's just a dude that's sitting at the end of the time, and he's literally telling the audience to their face, like, there's something that's, like, I've seen the worst of, like, if you guys thought Thanos was bad, like, he's minuscule in terms of, like, what I had to deal with, and, like, I dealt with it. And then, obviously, Sylvie kills him, and he says, you don't know what you just did. Like, there's gonna be different versions of all these characters, including myself, that are gonna come now. And it's just so smart. Like, the first phase was just, like, this being that said, I'm gonna cut the universe in half, and now this next phase is, like, the worlds are, like, you're going to start seeing these different versions of all these characters you fell in love with. And, like, I think it's going to be that coupled with, and I do think, like, the end-all, be-all thing that Marvel's going to try to do is going to be, they're going to try to do Secret Wars, and they're going to try to have, like, whatever's going to happen, it's going to start to collapse the multiverse. So, like, all these worlds are going to, like, I think because they have all the rights, like, the original Fantastic Four universe, like, they're going to die. Like, the X-Men, like, they're going to die, and it's all going to converge into, like, one universe.
Because at the end of the day, they're not one-upping anyone else.
No.
They're trying to one-up themselves.
Yeah.
And how do they one-up what they did with Infinity War? It's this.
Yeah, it's Secret War,
they're setting up now.
Right.
Is how you do that. And I think, going back to WandaVision, Wanda is a perfect character to kind of build this around. I think as much as this is a Doctor Strange movie, it's also a Scarlet Witch movie.
Right, yeah. And that was said very early, like, this is going to be, like, it's even more of, like, you had Hulk and Thor Ragnarok, you had Black Widow and Captain America Winter Soldier. Like, this is even more than that. Like, it's the two of them kind of frontlining this movie. And, I mean, stroke of genius to have, the hottest character, like, the one that's drawing the most attention, also in this movie for Doctor Strange.
Yep. Let's address the boner in the room, shall we?
Go ahead.
So, Evan Peters is in WandaVision, the big aha moment at the end of episode 5.
I believe it was 5 because, yeah. Yep.
This had been speculated upon, rumored, nearly confirmed that Evan Peters was going to show up. Show up he does, and he's like, hello, I'm your brother. There's an in-joke that Darcy is in this from Thor. Darcy returns. She goes, did she recast her brother? Because obviously WandaVision is set in this TV universe that Wanda's created. And
man, the internet exploded after that happened.
Oh man, X-Men universe confirmed.
Yeah, they were like, is Patrick Stewart going to show up? And I was like, hold on.
Whoa.
He's coming later. Just give him a second.
Magneto showing up at the end of this?
Right, is he going to be like, relax, daughter? Can you hold on? Relax.
Yeah, the Quicksilver thing freaking took everything that we had before and just boom.
That's when it really ignited.
And then,
because that's when it became possible. Like, that's when, like, anything was just like, all right, this just became really real, really fast.
Until it didn't,
because it was all a joke.
Yeah, it was a gag.
It was Agatha all along.
It was just a gag.
Yeah.
It's just a gag. We got Evan Peters just to basically make fun of the audience.
Yeah, it's just like, we know you guys, you crazy people, are going to believe anything we do.
Yeah, they gave him the Quicksilver powers, they gave him the jacket, he looked very X-Men Days of Future Past, Quicksilver.
He was Uncle Jesse.
Yeah, basically, which is what that Quicksilver would be.
Right.
If you brought him over.
Right.
He had the classic, they had that real real fun Halloween episode where everyone was in their old school comic book
I
outfits.
think that was my favorite like sitcom piece was the Malcolm in the Middle. That probably by far was my favorite because I grew up watching Malcolm in the Middle.
I love that.
I
loved that they got everybody in their comic book costumes. And if you go back, Elizabeth Olsen was like, I would never wear that costume, and then until she did. So I really loved that. I told you my favorite moment for that show is when Wanda steps out of the Hex.
Yeah. Because then it's just like, oh yeah, again, we're still in the MCU, don't worry, and like
you're still in the MCU, and she's so scary,
and that's a big part of Wanda's arc is like, leave me alone, like
she's so scary.
Yeah, like legitimately, she could have killed all of them if she wanted to.
She brings the Sokovian accent back.
Yeah, she does
when she steps out of the Hex.
What's the Sokovian accents there? You gotta start panicking.
That was my favorite moment from the show. It just was because that was everything. They did everything with that character in that one little scene. Like that scene was Wanda Maximoff.
Right.
She was pissed off about, them interfering with her love, with her life, and she just wanted to be left alone.
Right.
Motives aside. Questionable motives.
And I mean, motives only... I mean, that's what character studies are. Like, you look at Joker, like, motives only get you so far when you're talking about, like, a person, because we've all made a rational decision. Like, it's not necessarily she's making an irrational decision. It's just, like, she's making an impulsive decision based off emotion. Like, it's just what she feels like.
And we've seen her when her emotions are ramped up to 10 or 11. Like,
just
she
was
can't control
obliterating just straight up vibranium like it was nothing. Like,
she almost sliced and diced Thanos.
Yeah, almost killed the most powerful being in the universe. Like, all these, like, feats. And, like, that's not even her at her most powerful yet.
Yeah.
So... Doctor Strange is going to need an upgrade in this movie, which I do think he's going to get. Again, when we talk about the Doctor Strange preview, like the full-out preview before we get into Multiverse of Madness, like, as much powerful as... And I do believe that Wanda, at this moment, is the most powerful being. Doctor Strange still has a little bit to say about that, because I don't even think we've seen him at, like, close to the amount of power that he's going to reach in the MCU. Like, I think what they're going to get to, I think they're going to do the Illuminati thing if we're going to do the Secret War thing, and, like, a big part of the New Avengers run is like he basically sold his soul for ultimate power. Like, I think we're gonna get close. I mean, he kind of did that in What If,
right?
And What If is going to be a big piece of what's going to play into this movie as well.
And I guess before we transition to Loki, what did you think of the suit?
Love the suit. Love that suit. That's a great suit. And again, it's the Falcon and Winter Soldier thing. Like, give us the comic suit. Like, same thing for Mighty Thor that we just saw in the Thor Love and Thunder trailer. Like, just give us the comic suit at this point. Nobody's going to care.
I gotta be honest. I think I like the WandaVision suit better than the suit that's in Multiverse of Madness.
It's the sleeves.
I like the sleeveless kind of like with the long gloves and like the headdress is a little different. I really like that WandaVision costume.
Right.
Like when she fully gets like enveloped in the costume and she like totally appears, I was literally like, wow.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
And yeah, like, one of my favorite parts of this whole show is where she's looking into the Mind Stone and basically I don't even think we still know if it's like a future version of herself or like what version of herself that kind of presented herself. Like, maybe we're going to get that payoff in Multiverse of Madness, like that just kind of ascends from like the Mind Stone down to look at her for a second. Like, she's so powerful.
It's like your destiny. This
is your destiny. Like, and like Agatha tells her at the end, like, it's not that simple as like, you beat me. Like, you don't know what you just did. Like, you don't know what type of power.
There's a big theme of you don't know what you just did.
Yeah, in this whole show. Yeah.
In this show and in Loki also.
And the whole MCU at this point, like, you don't know what like the Eternals did it. Like, you don't know what you just did.
Spider-Man.
Like, Spider-Man did. You don't know what you just did. Yeah. King's the only one that knows what you just did. He's the only one.
And look where that got him.
Dead. Or is he?
What else did I want to say about WandaVision? I guess nothing else. I mean, Monica Rambeau was...
Yeah, that's a big piece,
was placed in this to be, propelled further. This is what I was talking about when it's like an in-between piece. So, like, we get to Ms. Marvel. She'll be presumably in that.
I think she's going to show up, and then they're all just going to be in the... It's basically just to get them to the Marvels.
Yeah. So she'll be back. She's all powered up.
I really liked her in this show.
Me too.
Her. And it shows off, it's like the MCU flexing the muscles of like, we can throw this person here and it's going to work. It doesn't matter. Because I remember when I first heard about it, I was like, what is Monica Rambeau doing in WandaVision? And it makes sense. Like, she's a SWORD agent. SWORD deals with these other threats, and S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't a thing. SWORD's the new thing. And obviously they would go deal if there's like a fake city, a fake town in New Jersey. Like, they're gonna go deal with it, and like she just works for them.
Jimmy Woo is back.
Jimmy the goat. Jimmy Woo's back. I told you, give Jimmy Woo his own show where he just shows up to like big crime scenes
with Darcy.
Darcy just says like science nonsense, and there's a big will they won't they in the show.
Yeah, Kat Dennings is great.
Yes,
for however long
she just plays Kat Dennings. She's not even Darcy at this point.
Yeah, she's fantastic. I really enjoyed her. You know, standard dickhead government agent guy.
Oh yeah, Hayward.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever is perfect. Because,
take him or leave him.
Yeah, didn't need to really be in the.
Only needed to be there to show you how bad he is and show what happened to Vision,
right? And
why Wanda was so like ticked off about the whole situation.
You know what they should have done? They should have had Patriot from freaking Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. be him and like have him, and then because I guess that's in a different timeline anyway, so it doesn't matter. And then keep a little continuity, because I'm still on the train that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is still relevant to the MCU. They just took a different path.
But he was just there to show, like, you know, we are on Wanda's side. Mm-hmm. Like, I understand why she did what she did, because they were picking Vision apart like a frog on a dissection table.
Right.
And we like Vision.
Yeah, we do. We love Vision. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that was that. What else happened in that show? The ship of Theseus?
we got Vashon out of this. We got dripped out Vision. Vision had the coldest line of all time, where he said, "What did he say? What is love if not? What is grief?
What is grief if not love persevering?"
And everybody just put that in their Twitter bios.
To the Instagram bio right away.
They got to the Instagram post. They were ready.
Paul Bettany just dropping bars.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what the future holds for her. More or less, is the moral of this story. And WandaVision was great. I really enjoyed it upon rewatching it and being detached from all the theorizing and craziness. It's really solid.
Yeah, and
it's different.
As the first show, because this was the one. This was the first one. We didn't know what these shows were going to look like. There was the deniers, there was the doubters, and this show really presented that. Man, they're not going to miss. They simply won't. They're not going to be denied. And it really, and this is the first example of taking time, because this is main characters in the MCU getting fleshed out.
Yep. Enter Tom Hiddleston. Everyone's favorite villain. So this was set up in Avengers Endgame. If you go back and watch Avengers Endgame, it is kind of like
really tongue-in-cheek how they do it.
With everything. Yeah. With Wanda, with Sam, with Loki. Like, it's like...
With Hawkeye, too. Like, everything was very...
It's like, get ready. Coming soon to Disney Plus is all these people.
Right.
So yeah, this is set up in Avengers Endgame, where 2012 Loki escapes with the Tesseract, and we're like, whoop, where'd he go? Where'd he go? We don't get that answer until Loki, the TV show Loki, about the character Loki from the Thor movies.
I have a confession. I originally, when this got announced, I was not having it. I just said, "Why do I care about Loki at this point? What's the point of this?"
Yeah, what is the point of this?
And boy, did I quickly find out what the point was.
2012 Loki. Why are we doing this? What is this?
Why do I care?
Why are we stripping this character down from everything that we loved about him from I would say probably Thor: The Dark World on?
Yeah. Because he was a real trickster once Thor: The Dark World
when
came
he starts doing kind of not a full hero turn, but like a an ambivalent kind of thing.
And I mean, you want to talk motive? Like, now you get into like the logical motivate. Like, the guy just really loves his mother, and like he does have a heart, and his mother was the only person that saw that, and she died, so he kind of still went on that turn, but he's just like, there is a human side to me. And this show finally fleshes out like why he does what he does, and why he will do what he will do, and why he can kind of make that shift. He's like, because I have to. Like, my brother is Thor. Like, I don't have the same luxuries he does.
So this show gets real crazy real quick.
Gosh. It's so weird science. It's so Doctor Who. Like, this show is so bonkers and just crazy, and but there's like this like weird vibe over this show that just I don't know what it just works. Like,
you don't really know where it's going until it gets there.
Right.
So yeah, he lands, and then the guys from Monsters Inc. shows up.
Yeah. This is just this is like really good sci-fi. This is what this show is. This is like a really good sci-fi show that just has Marvel in it.
The Monsters Inc. characters show up and they're like, exterminate the thing. And he's like, whoop.
Yeah, hold on. I'm a
Someone
main character.
you can't just get rid of me.
Hold on.
So they take him to this weird 1950s Fallout looking universe.
Right? It's so weird. This show is so, like, weird. It's, like, so weird feeling.
It's a place, literally, that looks out of time and indeed is out of time. The TVA, the Time Variance Authority, which got a big pop from the nerds. They're like,
Me.
yes.
Yeah, it was me.
Yeah, the TVA is in this. And everyone was like, nobody cares.
Yeah. It's me. I'm the nerds.
So yeah, the Time Variance Authority is introduced, and Loki's like, hold on. He's like, so you're telling me that everything is a fixed point and yada yada, and I'm not supposed to be here? He's like, nonsense.
Right.
And then Owen Wilson shows up.
And then that scene, again, this show is a perfect example, and this is why this is my favorite. I told you right before we hopped on, like, I look at these shows at this point, they're like their own movies. Like, if I were to do a ranking, like, I would just put, like, let's just say, like, Loki in between, like, well, I don't care, like, Age of Ultron and, like, Ant-Man. Like, I would just put it in between there. That's not where I have it, but just for sake of argument.
Yeah, Age of Ultron at the top.
Yeah. Is it? But, I mean, personally, if I'm to rank, and I know how much I hate rankings at this point, ever since we started this, like, I'm putting Loki in my personal top 5 for this. I really love the feel of the show. It's the storytelling's very tight on this show. It's very tight and to the point. At the same time, not being to the point, because there's a lot of ambiguity that lies in here.
A lot of ambiguity.
It's just, like I said, it's so weird. Like, it's just it's a great sci-fi Marvel show about this magical character that has to deal with, like, he basically turns into Doctor Who. That's what happens. Like,
yeah, which is what everyone thought the show was going to be when it first launched. It was like, oh, this is Loki, but Doctor Who, basically. And it's that, but it's way more than that.
No, it is way more than that.
So, yeah, like we said, Owen Wilson shows up, and he's like, hello, I'm your sidekick for this 6-episode miniseries. And I'm going to basically it becomes like a buddy cop kind of deal.
Right.
With him. Reluctant allies, I guess you would say.
Right.
There's a lot of Wizard of Oz elements to this, particularly when it comes to the timekeepers. You're like, I think it's pretty obvious. Like, you pick it pretty right away. Like, the timekeepers aren't like a real thing. Like, that's just a front. What's a front for? We don't know. That's the part you can't figure out.
Right.
But, Owen Wilson's like, look, Loki, you're the only person that can help us with this, because the person, there's a person out there, a being out there, committing all sorts of time atrocities, and it's you from another universe. Plot twist.
Right.
And he's like, oh, I'm the best Loki that's ever Loki.
Are you, though?
Nope.
No, you're not, because you've seen a lot of tragedy, but you weren't forged in the fire. Like, she's all about, Sylvie's all about business. Like, you are the trickster god. Like, she's the person that, like, you could be if you focused a little bit more.
Yeah, so Sophia DiMartino plays the alternate universe version of Loki, aka Sylvie. She appears in episode 3?
2. 2 is the big reveal.
Yeah. This is all... Also, people were like, well, how are you going to make us care? Or, like, how are you going to get Loki from 2012 Loki to Ragnarok Loki? We're just going to show him a quick supercut.
Dude, that scene was so sad. It was so sad and so well. And Tom Hiddleston's in the he's
very good at subtle things.
Yeah, it's just the small. And again, his arc is so tragic and so beautiful in this, because it's like it was the point where he saw his mom. He was just like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not sorry, but it's just like, there's a reason I do the things that I do. Like I said before, like,
because he didn't know that she died at that point.
Right, yeah, he thought he was still alive, and he's just like, I would never, like, this is a trick. Like, I would never do anything like that. And it's just like, but you did.
He saw her die. He saw Asgard explode. And with a lesser actor, that moment would have felt really weird of being like, let's just show the character the supercut of their arc.
Right.
But Tom Hiddleston plays it so well, where you can see him almost experiencing the arc in real time. Yeah,
it's like as we did over that many years, he did in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
he sees Thor tell him, like, I love you, like, you're my brother. He sees himself die. He sees, and then he's like, wait, what? He's like, that's the end? And Owen Wilson's like, yeah, like, Thanos kills you. Like, that's it. No glorious purpose.
Yeah.
Like, you're not.
Yeah, it's like the whole, you're just, all you are is a survivor, and like, you've been told this before, like, that's all you are. You're like, there's nothing.
You're like a cockroach.
Yeah, you're always going to survive, and it doesn't matter how you do it or what version of it. Loki's always going to survive, and like, once you jump into the second half of this show, once we get some great cameos for some cool actors playing different versions of Loki.
Yeah.
And that was a big sell of the show. It's like, this is the first time we're going to see different versions of these characters that you know, and that was kind of like, that was the big like selling point for this whole show, and they played it well. They played it real well, especially once episode 5 rolls around. Yeah, I remember that at the end of episode 4 with the big reveal of the different Lokis, like, that was huge. Like, people were talking about that for the whole weekend before that.
So Loki and Sylvie cross paths, and then inevitably it becomes another buddy cop kind of sitch with them, where they get their reluctant allies just doing what you said. They have to survive. They're put in an impossible place, and they're like, I really hate your guts, but we have to survive. And then they have a
weird, interesting relationship develop.
Is it weird to love yourself when you're the ultimate narcissist?
Well, that's the whole theme of his character arc, is like, you need to learn to love yourself. Because you've spent so much time hating yourself and doing bad things because you think you're a bad person. Like, you told me this, like, the only who better to for him to fall in love with than himself in this whole show. Like, that's Loki. Like, that's him.
The ultimate narcissist.
He is.
Yeah. So Sylvie's whole mission is basically down with the machine. That's basically
rage against the machine.
Rage against the machine is literally her mission.
That's so anti-Loki too. That's why I love it. Like, and again, it's gonna show once we get into Doctor Strange and beyond. Like, we're gonna get different. Like, we already have a version of, like, let's just take Mr. Fantastic. Like, we already have Yoan Griffin's version. Then we're gonna get not John Krasinski's version, and like, they're probably going to be kind of different, but still, like, it's not going to be the same every time because of the universe, and I think that's, like, it's the big overarching Marvel thing that's going to happen. Like, it's so cool to see, like, the different variant versions of these characters. Like, it's really interesting. Yeah,
so Sylvie's mission, rage against the machine, down with the TVA. TVA's not on. It's not everything that you say it is. And Loki's like, I don't even know what it is, first of all. And she's like, I'll tell you what it is. It's nonsense.
Yeah, it's BS.
Yeah, it's BS, man. And she's kind of right.
She is kind of right.
But she's also kind of wrong.
But that's the whole thing. What's right and what's wrong.
Like, she thinks it's like all of, like a hoax and a facade. But it's really not.
But it is?
It is. It's a stand-in for a thing that is actually doing what the TVA is doing. But the TVA just isn't real. I mean, it is real. And those are real people.
Right.
Well, variant people.
Right.
That's the big reveal. That's the big reveal. Is you're like, because the whole time you're like, what is going on with the TVA? Like, who are these people?
Yeah, because
they had to have come from somewhere.
Right, because they keep having, like, Owen Wilson specifically, like, he keeps having, like, memories and, like, dreams about, like, him driving, like, a jet ski.
Yeah.
Because in one version of himself, he probably had a jet ski and drove. Like, that's how it works.
Yeah.
So, like, you find out, like, the last episode, like, Judge Renslayer, she also, like, had, like, she was just a school teacher before this. Like, they're all... And basically, once you're a variant, you get pruned, and basically what happens is you just get back and you work for the TVA. That's how it works. Yeah. That's how they, like, have so many operatives working for them the whole time.
Yeah. And Loki eventually reveals this information to Owen Wilson. He goes into, like, his own little mini story, which was okay.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't love the whole Owen Wilson trying to convince everybody that they're not who they are subplot. But it was fine. You know, he needed something to do. He couldn't be, like...
Just with Loki the whole time, right.
So that was fine. And then things get real crazy.
Yeah. So they go to confront the Timekeepers. So the Timekeepers are like these gods of the timeline.
It's the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
This is the Wizard of Oz part.
It literally is the Wizard of Oz.
Because guess what? The Timekeepers are robots.
Yeah, they're robots. Oh no.
The goddamn robots, John.
Will Smith, everybody. So yes, they're robots. They're not real.
So they get pruned.
So pruning at this point in the show is just death.
Yeah, you think it's like you're being Thanos snapped out of existence.
So basically, everything's going on. It's going crazy, and then Loki gets pruned, and you're like, wait a second, he's the main character. That's Tom Hiddleston you just pruned. Hold on.
And then he wakes up in the Upside Down.
So basically, episode 5. I think episode 5 is the crowning achievement of the overall like craziness of the achievement of this show.
Before episode 5 started, Michael Keaton came on the screen and said, "You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts."
He didn't do that. He didn't do that.
He would have if they would have asked him.
Yeah, he would have. He's gonna do anything if you ask him these days.
Yeah. So episode 5 gets nuts.
Right. Oh, nuts is an understatement. So basically, the end of episode 4, you find out that once you get pruned, you go to this place that's like the place after the end of the timeline, basically, where like everything goes.
It's where all the garbage goes.
Yeah, it's where all the garbage goes. It's like the Sakara for the timeline, basically.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
The Easter eggs galore in there. Like,
Dude.
Do you see the Thanos copters in there? I need the timeline where he gets arrested by the NYPD.
The best timeline, you mean?
The best timeline. The only timeline that matters. What else you got in there? You got
Thor?
Frog Thor. You got Kid Thor. He's just like, or Kid Loki. He's just like, what did you do? You're just a kid. He's like, I killed Thor. Like, I'm the man up. He should have done the Denzel speech from Training Day. I'm the man in this piece.
You got President Loki.
Yeah, you got You got President Loki.
He's kind of like the real minor villain of this weird episode.
Right.
And then obviously Alligator Loki, which is neat.
Right. Yeah.
Because how?
And then the big one is Richard E. Grant as like classic comic Loki, and I was so on board. And after I saw that, I thought they were gonna do because basically they kept teasing the He Who Remains. There's this man that's sitting at the end of time. That's the one that's actually running things.
Yeah, that's like the big reveal. Is like there's a being out there, and here we go again.
Yeah,
it's the WandaVision thing,
but. I think what happened is people and this is why they're so smart, because I think people were like, well, we're not going to get our hopes up,
because they got burned in WandaVision,
right.
And they got burned in Falcon and Winter Soldier,
right,
the power thing,
right. So this one came, and I think people were like, it's just going to be Loki, because who else would be at the end of the timeline than Loki
in the Loki show?
Yeah, I thought it was just going to be Richard E. Grant as just old man Loki, because that's who he kind of looks like, honestly. He remains from the comics.
Yeah.
So now we're in episode 6.
Yeah. Well, they have to get past the big smoke dragon.
Right, yeah. First. Goliath, basically, yeah.
Yeah. So they're figuring great action sequence with classic Loki where he creates an entire illusory Asgard. Mm-hmm. Amazing. That's such an amazing sequence. Mm-hmm. I loved it so much. Sylvie and Loki kind of, have their big moment where Loki gives her the big pep talk. Mm-hmm. She's like, I can't do it. Because that's her whole deal, is she can control minds.
Yeah, so it's like Loki doesn't realize the power that he has because of what he's just been like he's just been been joking around for the last 1,500 years of his life. He's just been
and Sylvie's like, you really don't know what you can do.
And same thing for Richard E. Grant. He's like, you don't know what you can do. Like, you are way more powerful than you give yourself credit for it.
Yeah, so she can control minds and all this other stuff, and she's like, I can't control that thing. And Loki's like, yes, you can.
Yeah, with the power of love.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They have a big moment together. Mm-hmm. Big kiss.
Big kiss.
Big kiss with himself.
Yeah.
They destroy Goliath, and lo and behold, they get to the final boss level, the big creepy castle. I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy, and this gave me big Final Fantasy vibes. The big dark castle at the end of time. That's classic Final Fantasy. So, what kind of hideous monster is going to pop out at the end of this?
So,
Miss Minutes.
The jump scare of I don't care whatever jump scares we get in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Nothing's going to compare to me watching that at like 4:00 in the morning and just seeing Miss Minutes show up and be like, hey,
voiced by everyone's favorite voice actress, Tara Strong.
Yep.
Yeah, so Miss Minutes is like, congratulations.
Yeah, you guys got to the final boss battle.
This is your final save point,
right?
Before you get to the end of the game. Would you like
to upgrade any of your armor before you get to the end of the game?
Go back and do any of your side quests, because you will be locked out of the map once you pass this point.
Right. So yeah, it happens, and she's just like, "How would you guys like everything that you've ever wanted?" And then Sylvie's like, it's fiction. It's a lie. Will never happen. And Loki's like, I'm listening. I'm listening.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then again, so the big thing is like we're about to figure out who He Who Remains, the big
It's Loki.
It's gotta be Loki. And then...
Or it's Owen Wilson.
It's got to be just somebody that just,
It's got to be somebody that we've seen
right
at some point.
Right. Just very calm, just a cool, just a nice calm finale. It's going to be more... Big fight. Yeah, big fight, Nah, man. Remember when D23 happened and Ken Feige was up there just spitting, he said, "Hey man, we got all these properties coming out." And it was a young actor that's becoming real hot. Jonathan Majors is. He's really on the up and up. What if we get him to play Kang?
Kang the Conqueror.
Classic Avengers villain, Kang. It's like Thanos, Kang, Ultron are they're like the triple threat of Avengers villains.
Big wheel.
Yeah. And then you're like, all right, it's got to be... So basically the door opens. They're getting ready to see whoever's going to come out.
You're like, show yourself, Richard E. Grant.
It's got to be... And I was like, it's got to be Richard E. Grant. He gave a great performance as Old Man Loki. I got to see this.
And then...
Frickin' Jonathan Majors...
says, hold my Kang.
Yeah.
Please.
I'm not going to lie. I paused it and did a fist pump when I saw that. I was like, there is no way they're actually doing the thing. And they did the thing.
Yep.
And
so Jonathan Majors, He Who Remains.
Yeah. Just genius setup. It's a retroactive setup because you're seeing the old version of what a Prime character could be. He tells him I'm not as young as I look. I am absolutely ancient. He tells him I've seen it all and I know it all. And it's just I was watching it right before. He is so magnetic and electric as this Nathaniel Richards-esque, because that's who he is essentially. Is he's the original timeline Kang or Nathaniel Richards. He's the... I wouldn't say good one, and I mean, this is what this new phase of Marvel... It's not as simple as people... I mean, Eternals did a good job at that. This did a good job at that.
We're all villains here.
Yeah, we're all villains. He tells him, Sylvie, you're a murderer and a hypocrite. It's I'm a villain. You're we're not too much different.
But I maintain order.
I maintain order while you guys create chaos. I think we're not too different.
It could be worse.
And he's like, I'm the fly on the wall. This whole you're the cockroach that always survives, but I'm the fly on the wall that makes sure everything's keeping going. And then it's just the subtle switch. I didn't so I've seen Jonathan Majors and some other things. I mean, obviously his big thing is Lovecraft Country, where, all the praise from that show came out 2 years ago, I believe. But man, it's just the subtle switches. There's this small switch he has where he's because usually the whole episode he's kind of playing coy with them, and then you could tell he's starting to remember what he had to go through during the Multiversal War, and he gets real serious. He's I ended that war. I weaponized a lot. I did that. I'm the one who ended this because of you don't understand what's coming. You really don't. You thought you thought Thanos was bad. You thought the Celestials were you have not seen a war of when you're trying, it's not just these beings that are trying to get they're trying to end your universe. I've seen the worst of what can be.
And I stopped it.
I'm the one that stopped it. Yeah.
And then Sylvie's
right.
Nah, man.
Yeah.
Nonsense.
This is fake.
And then you get to a point where he's like,
wait a second. I got an idea.
Well, yeah. And then he's I'll give you everything that you want.
He said, what, under one condition. You guys do this.
Mm-hmm.
He just tells him straight, I'm tired.
I'm tired, man.
I'm tired.
I want to go home.
Yeah.
I need to retire. And Sylvie's I'll retire you, all right?
Yeah. Retire you right to a grave, old man. The future's now, old man.
Yeah. And, right before she does end up killing him, he has that, eureka moment where he's I don't know what's about to happen.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a great flip. Because it's he has so much control,
until he doesn't.
Yeah, he's trying to, they're trying to kill, or Sylvie's trying to kill him, and he just moves out of the way last second. He tells him, Loki's this is a parlor trip, and he's is it? Because, he's just you just loaded the temp pad with, my next location, and then he says, well, how am I going to know where you guys are going to try to hit me if I don't already know what's going to happen? And then the last, 5 minutes of the episode, he's this is the thing I was worried about.
And then she just kills him.
Yeah.
And he's oh,
yeah, you
boy.
shouldn't have done. And he's it's the ultimate, pendulum. You can kill me right now. It's either you keep me alive, we keep this TVA running, and we just keep pruding people, and more Sylvias are more tragic stories of Sylvia are gonna happen. Or you can kill me now, and then you're going to get the worst of the multiverse is going to crack, and you're going to get the worst of the worst if you kill me.
And Sylvie, much like Wanda Maximoff, made the impulsive decision. Door number 2, please.
Yeah, door number 2.
And she stabs him, kills him dead, and he's like, "You're probably going to regret that."
Yeah, thanks a lot.
And he dies, and the universe cracks open.
You just think Doctor Strange was just watching both these shows? It's just like, oh my god.
Watching the shows. Unsubscribe.
No, it's just, can you guys stop? See, he wouldn't have had to deal with this if he wasn't texting and driving. This is an anti-texting and driving PSA.
And then, so, Sylvie and Loki are like, well, now what? And Loki's like, well, we could do this together. And she's like, nah, pushes him through a portal. And presumably, you think that Loki has been pushed back to the TVA.
Yeah, he's just right.
And nope.
It's not that simple.
Nope. He comes across Owen Wilson. He's like, oh my god, Owen Wilson, you're still alive.
Yeah, and Owen Wilson's like, who are you, man?
Who are you? Never seen you in my life? And Loki's like, what is happening?
You were just obsessed with me a little bit ago. What happened?
Yeah, and then he big statue of presumably Kang the Conqueror, where once the TVA Timekeeper's statue once stood, Loki has been deported to another universe, in fact confirming that the multiverse has in fact been opened up. Right.
And this is the piece of the shows where it's just like, at the same time, for the character arcs being contained in these shows, the big overarching ideas are kind of running rampant, which is really awesome if you think about it. I mean, the power broker thing from Falcon and the Winter Soldier is kind of the big thing. And it's also that we have a new Captain America on top of that. Like, those are the two big things. The Hawkeye arc was basically, now we have another new Hawkeye on top of having, Kingpin basically back in the fold for everything.
Yep.
Loki's probably the biggest one because this is the start, and I mean, even Kevin Feige said it himself, like, this is the start of the multiverse, like, because what did they call it before? The Infinity Arc? Like, this is the multiversal arc kind of that we're on right now. And I think that's what it's getting at for the MCU, like we said. Like, what I think is going to happen, it's like, they're going to do the whole thing, and then they're going to build the multiverse, and then, like, the last arc of movies for, like, the foreseeable future is going to be finally, like, the collapse of all those universes that we have.
And Loki's getting a season 2.
Yes, it is.
Which is fun.
Yeah, it is.
WandaVision not getting a season 2.
No,
which, of course.
She's probably going to get a movie, because Elizabeth Olsen is, like, one of the biggest actresses on the earth now.
Yep. Loki was great.
Yeah, my favorite MCU show, one of my favorite MCU properties. I watched that season finale time to time just to see Jonathan. There's little action. It's just a conceptual episode about, like, it's funny, I watched that, about fate, destiny, and almost the more personal arc is just like, do you have to be this version of yourself in every single timeline?
And it's one of those things where he's like, you think you defied destiny to get here?
No.
He's like, I knew you would get here.
Yeah.
He's like, so when were you ever in control? Mm-hmm. So he's like, well, right now when I plunge this knife into your chest.
He's like, cool, okay. You just did the one thing that can end the universe, but okay. You get your small victory for your major defeat later. Yeah. I definitely think Stephanie DiMartino's coming back too. She's got to be coming back.
And that's where we're set up for.
Yeah, so
the multiverse has been fractured, opened, exacerbated by the events of Spider-Man No Way Home.
Right, and Wanda Maximoff is coming to get her kids back. She wants her children back. And like we forgot to mention that at the end of WandaVision, that's basically where she's leading into Doctor Strange 2. She wants her children back. She's now accepting that she's not only a miracle / mutant, that she also is a witch, and possibly or probably the most powerful
witch. Reading the Darkhold?
Yeah, she's just reading the Darkhold.
One of your favorite things? Stop opening the Darkhold.
Yeah, I said it during when we talked about ages. Don't open don't do that. Just leave it be.
Nothing good ever happens?
Nothing. Ever.
So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm real excited to see Scarlet Witch again.
Me too.
It's been more than a year since WandaVision.
Yeah. And I'm writing on the fake whiteboard that we have. So like our tier list of like people that run this podcast and keep me going throughout the day. And I'm adding Jonathan Majors to the list.
All right.
Because
I'll allow it.
Yeah, Jonathan Majors. I loved him in The Harder We Fall. He was in one of my favorite movies of 2019, The Last Black Man in San Francisco. Lovecraft Country again was when that show was coming out again. That was a huge deal when that was coming out. Jonathan Majors is going to be if he's not already, just a massive star in the industry. And I mean, playing presumably the next Thanos-esque villain in the MCU will do that for you. So yeah, he's playing the villain of, I hate to say villain, or the adversary of Creed 3. You saw the set photos? That man looks like a tank now. Jesus.
He must be on that Natalie Portman.
The Natalie Portman. I was just like, I thought those photos were photoshopped to Natalie Portman. Then I saw the trailer and I was like, maybe she was in the gym. Jeez, she's looking jacked out there. So,
looking like Thor.
Yeah, looking...
excited.
Yeah, certainly. You think they're going to do the love story between her and Falcon, Captain America?
No, surely not.
Hey, man. Who knows? Who knows?
But yeah, excited to see where this all leads to, because Doctor Strange is shaping up to be crazy.
Yeah, and Jonathan Majors we trust.
Yeah.
Or we don't trust.
We definitely don't. We don't trust one of him.
Yeah, but we trust one of him, the Nathaniel Richards version of him.
Maybe.
Hey man, I already spelled this out because presumably the Young Avengers are forming, and a big major central piece is Nathaniel Richards. I said keep this simple. The kid that played the young version of him in The Harder They Fall, just have him be Nathaniel Richards in the movie / TV show.
Yeah.
What a show.
What a show.
What a what a Disney Plus realm we're sitting in.
And those are just the setups for
Those
Doctor
are just
Strange.
the setups.
So next week we're gonna chronicle the Doctor Strange in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and how he kind of got to where he was. We were gonna do a Doctor Strange 1 review, but that really is too simplistic for where that character is now.
Because the majority of his arc has taken place in other movies besides ones that are named Doctor Strange.
Yeah, his movie was like the launch point for what would eventually be his true kind of arc
because
to where we're at.
His arc where we're at right now essentially is...
A lot of his arc happens off screen.
Yeah, it does, because he gets just more and more powerful and we never see it.
All of a sudden he's got the crimson bands of whatever.
Sidorak.
Yep, that's it. That's the one.
Yep.
And you're like, whoa.
Yeah. Where'd you get that from?
Now he's opening the multiverse?
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I know he just looked at Loki and he looked at Kang and he looked at Wanda. He's just
but then he didn't help.
This is his central arc in this movie.
The bill comes due.
Always. You think you can play God, Steven.
Yeah.
No, you cannot.
I'm excited to talk about Baron Mordo next week.
Yeah. He's going to also get added to the list. What are we at? We're at Fantastic. We're at Fast and Furious.
Is it Baron Mordo or is it Chiwetel Ejiofor?
I think it's Chiwetel Ejiofor. He's a great actor. That scene in 2012 when he got mad, he's like, you could fit 10 people in this room. And then he slammed the cup on the ground. I was like, that's acting. It's acting right there.
Remember him in Four Brothers?
Oh my god, do I remember him in Four Brothers. Amazing in Four Brothers. Yeah, this is...
Bobby Mercer.
This is Bobby Mercer. Yeah, this is a Chiwetel Ejiofor / Jonathan Majors fan page now.
So did you do anything interesting? Watch anything interesting? Interesting?
No, but I'm shooting a movie.
Woo! That's fun.
In a couple weeks.
That is fun.
So that's great. So go follow. The movie's going to be called Until Next Time. Written by a friend of mine, and I'm going to direct it.
Cool.
So yeah,
follow that on
Instagram.
Instagram.
Yeah, it's literally Until Next Time film. So
cool.
We got the cast out. We had our first read through. So yeah, I'm super excited. That's awesome. This is my directorial debut. Much like Kenneth Branagh, we're on a path to greatness. What about you? What the heck have you been doing?
Well, in lieu of what I've been playing and stuff, I saw Sonic.
Yes, this is what's all right. Sonic review. It's gonna be time coded at the bottom.
Yeah. Sonic
review. Give us the full Sonic review.
I loved it. I really loved it. They took everything from the first one and just dialed it up. They made it a true and tried and true Sonic movie. Like it was great. Jim Carrey is great as Dr. Robotnik.
I wouldn't expect anything different.
Idris Elba as Knuckles.
That's what I really want to know about.
Oh my goodness. It's so good. It's so, fish out of water. Mm-hmm. Like he takes things super... It's almost like it's a little Drax-ish.
Oh, okay.
The way he kind of plays Knuckles. Like there's a moment where Robotnik... He's like so Knuckles... Quick backstory on Knuckles. He's the last survivor of a warrior race of echidnas. Mm-hmm. Because this is Sonic.
You're right.
And his mission is to find and protect the Master Emerald, mm-hmm. which is, he thinks that Sonic knows where it is, so he's hunting down Sonic, because Sonic was brought up by the race that opposed the echidnas in this kind of war over the Master Emerald. So he's like, he knows where it is. So he ends up mixed up with Robotnik. Long story short, one of my favorite moments is Robotnik surrounds Knuckles with drones. And Knuckles is like, you think you're going to stop me with your drones? I will crush them down. And then he looks down and the drones are just making stairs for him to climb up. And he's like, oh, these are stairs. And he walks up the stairs. Spoiler alert, Knuckles obviously... Well, Robotnik turns on Knuckles and we get a big team up with Sonic.
Yeah, I was going to say, they punch each other for a bit, then they're mates.
Yeah, there's a lot of punching. Heaps of punching with Knuckles. They all team up to fight Robotnik, and Knuckles doesn't understand baseball at the end. It's hilarious. It's so good. It's genuinely funny. Like a genuinely funny film. Like everyone is good in it. James Marsden is back.
Yes.
As the human character.
Get him back. If we're gonna do this whole multiversal thing, get him back as Cyclops.
It does the thing that I wish the Transformers movies would have done. Like, make the Transformers the main characters.
Right.
Like, James Marsden is there, but Sonic is the main character. Tails is the main character. Knuckles is one of the main characters. That's your group. That's your core. And I think the reviews and stuff have been super positive. I think it's the best video game movie of all time. I know it's not a huge bar to clear.
You've never seen Doom. You've never seen Doom starring...
Timothée Chalamet?
No. This is pronounced Dune or Doom. You've never seen Doom starring frickin' Dwayne Johnson and our favorite from The Boys. Why can't I remember his name? Carl Urban.
Carl Urban?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true video game greatness.
I mean, I liked Uncharted, but Sonic 2 just nailed it. And they already full sent on a sequel. Like Sonic 3 is already happening. Spoiler alert again for Sonic. Post-credit scene, Shadow is coming. Who a lot of people obviously would want to see.
Is Shadow just the Winter Soldier?
It's funny because Sonic calls Knuckles the Winter Soldier.
It's almost like I wrote this. Who do you want to play Shadow? Because we already got Idris Elba as Knuckles, so...
Somebody said something to me about who should voice
There's
Shadow.
There's two that I keep hearing. There's one that I think would be cool and one that I think is going to happen. The cool one I think that I've been hearing is John Bernthal would be cool to play Shadow.
That's who someone said.
But the one that, who I think is going to be it? I think that our boy Keanu Reeves is going to be Shadow. Just imagine Keanu Reeves' voice for Shadow. This dark and mysterious figure. Be great.
That would be really great. Yeah, John Bernthal's a good one. What about Adam Driver?
Adam Driver, it's just the voice. It's the voice has got to be like menacing and cold.
Or you get in your Clone Wars bag, Sam Witwer, the voice of Maul.
Kenobi.
He could do Shadow.
That'd be pretty cool.
That would be very cool.
This is where we are now. We're fan casting for Shadow in real life.
Yeah.
You'd love to see it.
Yeah. Like I said, they got everything right about it. That's just, and it's a good, genuinely fun film for people of any age. People who like Sonic, kids who are into Sonic now that, like the character for whatever games are out for Sonic now will love it. Sonic is such a wild success story, like the movie, because remember when that first trailer came out, the design, and people were like, no, absolutely not.
And the studio listened and listened. They were like, okay,
they're like, all right, we'll fix it.
Yeah, we're not monsters.
Yeah, they fixed it. The first Sonic movie was fine. It was a good foundation. Like I said, it did its job. And then this one, they were just like, look, we got the sequel. Let's just make a Sonic movie and just do all the fun Sonic stuff.
It worked.
Jim Carrey does a floss.
No, he doesn't. He's about 3 years too late.
It's really good. It's great. It's really great. I'm looking forward to the sequel, which I didn't think I'd be saying about a Sonic movie.
A Sonic, man. Look where we are.
Gives me just a smidge of hope about the Mario movie, but reservations are still there about my man Chris Pratt.
How are they doing this? Are they going to do it like Sonic?
I think the Mario one's going to be fully animated.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I'm not sure there's going to be any real world things going on.
Well, they should, just so that we can have the crossover and we can do Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games 2008. One of my favorite video games
That's
from my
the Avengers
childhood.
Infinity War.
Yes.
No. You know what the Avengers Infinity War of all this is?
Oh, it's
Smash Brothers.
Yeah, it is.
I just broke his mind.
Oh my god, I almost passed away just thinking about the greatness that would be Smash Bros.
Smash Brothers movie.
Oh my, imagine a Smash Brothers movie. Oh my god, it would be like Free Guy on steroids.
Quick, we need to do the Kirby movie. Stat.
Yeah, Kirby movie.
We need a Kirby movie.
Who's playing Kirby? And give me the most ridiculous actor that can play Kirby.
Pedro Pascal.
Pedro Pascal is Kirby. Who else do we need? Quick.
Well, Link doesn't talk.
Which is fine. So who's a good actor that doesn't talk a lot? Matt Smith is Link. Alright, perfect. Who else we got?
I mean, you want like original Smash Bros roster?
Give me one original and then one that was added that's a fan favorite.
I mean, you got Samus Aran from Metroid. She's like a space bounty hunter.
Karen Gillan. Let's keep it rolling.
Ooh, I like this. So we got Samus, we got Link, Kirby, Mario, Sonic. So do we just bring Ryan Reynolds back as Pikachu?
I think so. I mean, that's just. I feel like that's just easy.
Do we? So Solid Snake is in Smash Bros.
Okay.
Do we get Oscar Isaac since he's doing the Metal Gear movie?
I think so. So perfect.
we got Oscar Isaac to do Solid Snake.
Good. Who else we got?
I mean Mewtwo. Everybody's in Smash Brothers, man.
Yeah.
Ryu and Ken from Street Fighter in Smash Bros.
Josh Brolin. And just give me the Sicario brothers. Just give me Josh Brolin and Benicio del Toro, and let's do it. Let's do that.
As Ken and Ryu.
Yes, perfect. Boom.
Oh man, that's gonna be one of our topic episodes.
It has to be now.
One of these days is casting the Smash Brothers movie.
They have a perfect opportunity. You already got Pikachu. You already got the Pikachu movie. You got Sonic. And you're about to have Mario. Smash Brothers Endgame.
Smash Brothers. No, you just do the game. You just call it Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Yeah. Pikachu on your left.
That's an IP nightmare.
Oh my god.
That's a licensing nightmare.
Jeez. But it's also like a
Sora from Kingdom Hearts is in Smash Brothers.
Also like a nexus of possibility though.
God bless you, Masahiro Sakurai,
yeah,
for giving us Smash Brothers. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for us. You can follow us on Twitter at ProjectINF_.
You remember when Loki was just singing?
Oh no, this character's back.
Yeah, when I just jumped in at the end of the episode and just started saying, I think I jumped in too early because I think I interrupted I kind of blacked out for a second and I just remember Loki singing and I was just like, why am I enjoying this so much?
Remember when Sif came back?
Sif did come back for a little bit
and beat him up for like
just beat him up. Yeah,
minutes?
and he was just sitting there, just taking it.
What was I saying? Twitter.
Yeah, so what's the Twitter?
ProjectINF_pod. You can follow us on Instagram at
The Project Infinite Pod.
Thank you. You can follow us on Facebook. New episodes posted there and on every podcast hosting site, app, every Wednesday morning.
You got iHeartRadio, we're there.
Yep.
Got Pandora.
If
it's 2012 again, you got Pandora.
Yep, we're there. Spotify, Apple Music, Apple's podcast, not Apple Music. Unless we drop an album at some point.
We might.
That's everything. Next week, Doctor Strange. The journey of Stephen Strange. The bill comes due.
The bill comes due always.
That is going to do it for me. That is going to do it for the Mobius B. Mobius of the podcast.
Yes. Mobius
Not Morbius.
Not Morbius. Mobius B. Mobius. What a hilarious name for a character. You gotta love comics.
Mobius.
Yeah, just as much as you love games, I love these stupid comics, and look what we've gotten from that.
Amazing things.
We've gotten a Loki show. We've gotten Vision fighting White Vision and saying, I request ellabration. You know what I said before we hopped on? I said, remember when this guy was just like a billionaire that just said, oh crap, I gotta make a suit to get out of here.
Now we got witches.
Now we have witches and like Wakandans and like, you know, Wiccan. Like we have all these crazy things. Got all the W words in there.
We have Drax.
We have
Ego the Living Planet.
We have Eliath. We have multiple Lokis.
We have Thanos.
We have the Celestials. We have Groot. We have Korg. We have Haley Steinfeld. Like, there's just everything in this universe now.
Yeah.
and they're not going to be stopped.
Only thing to be topped by the Smash Brothers film
is the MCU
coming to theaters in 2034.
Yeah,
Smash Ultimate the movie.
I can't wait.
All right, guys, we'll see you next week for a Doctor Strange journey through the MCU.
Journey into mystery, if I may.
Yep. All right, guys. Goodbye.
Peace.